Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to call to order the 5:15 regular City Council meeting of April 20th, 2022. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Vice Mayor Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Arias.
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez. Councilmember Smith.
I am here.
Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Parlier.
Thank you. Tonight we have the pleasure of having Father Sergio Perez from Our Lady of Guadalupe. He's the assistant pastor there. He'll offer the invocation. And then following that, we have a superstar, another superstar, but this is a real superstar. Sophia Rizalme, who's a junior at Bakersfield High School, will lead us in the pledge. Sophia is a Ward 2 commissioner on our youth commission. She's junior class president, and she's COO of the Virtual Enterprise Business Plan team that recently took second place in the nation in New York. So we are so proud of you. Besides that, she carries a 4.5 GPA. She's MVP of cross country, distinguished young woman, plans to attend Georgetown University and NYU, and major in business and marketing, and probably something else, and probably bring about world peace. So, Sophia, we're really proud of you. Would you all please stand now?
We stand before you, Holy Spirit, conscious of our sinfulness, but aware that we gather in your name. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. Give us light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us by your wisdom, support us by your power, for you are God, sharing the glory. You desire justice for all. Enable us to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love, and keep us faithful to all that is true. As we gather in your name, may we temper justice with love, so that all our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servants. Amen. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Father. We appreciate it. And Sophia, we'll have your team back here, I think, in the next couple weeks. Here are a few guidelines to help our meeting run smoothly. We request that you turn off your phones. Please be courteous in the use of cameras and videos. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chamber or in the lobby. Applause is allowed during the presentations portion of the meeting, but not during other portions of the meeting. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting, prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts the meeting may result in expulsion or in the chambers being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, going off topic, shouting, outbursts from the audience, surpassing the 2-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public statements.
Thank you. In keeping with Council's resolution, the public statements portion is now divided into 2 periods. There's a period for items listed on the meeting agenda and items not on the meeting agenda. Statements for items listed on tonight's agenda are given a 2-minute time limit, 20 minutes total per agenda item. The consent calendar as a whole constitutes 1 agenda item. Statements regarding items not listed on the agenda are given a 2-minute time limit, 20 minutes total. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, please give those to the clerk. She'll give copies to the council. If you're here to make a public statement, please fill out the speaker card, give your completed card to the clerk. We ask that you mark whether you are here to speak on an item listed on tonight's agenda or in a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for the non-agenda portion. Those speakers will be called during the non-agenda portion of the meeting. If you're here on consent calendar hearing items 8A through D, now isn't the time to speak. You'll be given an opportunity to speak when that item is called later in the meeting. We're very interested and concerned with your issues. However, due to the public notice requirement of the Brown Act, Council can't take action when an item isn't on the agenda. The Council can, however, refer your matter to committee or request that staff contact you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items listed on tonight's agenda?
Mayor Go, we do not have any public speakers for for items listed on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
Mayor Go, we have received 2 speaker cards for items not on tonight's agenda. The first public speaker is Arlene Waller. Following Arlene Waller, it's Judith Olsen.
Welcome, Ms. Waller.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Go. Thank you. And to all the council members. A lot of times I come here and I'm very opinionated. I voice my opinions. I saw Andre's face when they called me. It's totally good, Andre. I wanted to take this time to really thank one of our council members. I don't live in this ward, but I'm committed to this ward. Our group, She Power and the Mlk Community Initiative have been working tirelessly in this ward, and that's Ward 1. I wanted to take this time to publicly thank Councilman Eric Arias for being true to DEI, for hearing the community that voted you to serve them, for being a young man. I have been so impressed with your fight to go against systems and grains for real change. I could have called you on the phone and said thank you. I could have sent you an email to say thank you. But when something is wrong, I don't do that. I come here and we work on fixing it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly say thank you. This is not a well-paid position, and it's often a thankless position. But I want you to know that you have people behind you who are pushing with you. Thank you for hearing us. This is just simply say thank you and tell your mother she did a great job with you. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Waller. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my
Welcome.
name is Judith Olsen. Thank you. Glad to be here. I want to carry on in the same vein as the former speaker because I want to speak into my community something really good and something really positive. I've been in the chambers when there was a lot of controversy, and there was lately a great deal of controversy. There was so much tension in the chamber, and at the end, I just really appreciate the comments that were made by the city council members, which brought peace. Now, most of the people who were really tense and really angry had already left, so I guess it was fitting that you could speak more peace into the situation. But I heard a lot of young people who came to express themselves, and I was really proud of them for doing that. But some of the things they said things like, finally, I have representation by someone who looks like me. It really bothered me because I didn't look like them. And America is a systemically racist country, another statement. And I thought, I'd like to speak into those statements and say, no matter what your race, your religion, or your background, I think we have a God-given ability to recognize decency, honor, and goodness where it expresses itself. And I would like to just stand against those divisive words. They're wrong. They are not true. And I'd like to finish by quoting Robert L. Woodson Sr. He's the founder of the Woodson Center, and it helps low-income residents address the problems of their communities. But one of the serious things he said was, you cannot cure racism with racism. You can only cure racism with courtesy and honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Olsen. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Appointments, item 6A. 3 appointments to the Planning Commission due to the term expirations of Commissioner Daniel Cater, Ward 2, Commissioner Barbara Lomas, Ward 4, and the resignation of Commissioner Michael Bowers, Ward 1, whose term expires on April 30th, 2023.
Thank you. This appointment is by ward, therefore no ballots are required. I'll call on Council Members Arias, Gonzalez, and Smith for Wards 1, 2, and 4 nominations of their commission members. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. It is my honor to nominate Candace Neal for Planning Commissioner.
Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Daniel Cater, the incumbent, for another term on the Planning Commission.
Thank you. And Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to nominate Barbara Lomas. She has served many years and wishes to continue to serve, and she's doing a great job. So, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve appointees.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you, and we thank the 3 for their willingness to serve. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent calendar items 7A to 7AH for approval. 2 staff memorandums were received, one transmitting the minutes and another one correcting item 7I, correcting the not to exceed amount from $26,500 to $29,000.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Does any member wish to pull an item for separate consideration besides Councilman Andre? Councilman Gonzalez. Hearing none, I make a motion to approve items 7A through 7AH with the exception of 7F.
Thank you. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez for 7F.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Vice Mayor. This item is a resolution approving the Woolworths building located at 1400 19th Street as a cultural resource in the city of Bakersfield. It is my honor to make the motion tonight to approve this resolution. The Woolworths building is a historic structure in downtown Bakersfield, and it is worth preserving for its historical significance, but it also is an asset to our community. It has become a tourist attraction because the Woolworths building is the only Woolworths building in the country that continues to have a luncheonette, a lunch counter, preserved as it was built in 1950. And so I think that this is a right move for the city of Bakersfield and also for the property owners, and I applaud them for taking this step and moving in this direction, and I encourage all other owners of historic buildings to consider this as well in the future. So I make the motion tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. You have a motion. Please cast your votes. So, Councilmember Gonzalez, we were on a call with the governor's office earlier today, and one of the members was looking forward to Woolworths.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. I think it was the hot dog. Next item, please.
Consent calendar public hearings, item 8A through 8D for approval. We have received public speaker cards for item 8A, 8B, and 8C.
Thank you. For the consent calendar hearings, the purpose of this section is to vote on all of the items listed in one motion without further comment. If anyone would like to speak on any of the hearing items listed, the item must be removed from this portion of the agenda. If an item is removed, it will be placed at the end of the regular public hearings portion of the agenda. At this time, I'll open consent calendar public hearing items 8A through D. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to request that a hearing item be removed from the consent calendar? If so, please come forward. This isn't the time to take testimony, only the time to request that the matter be removed from the consent calendar hearings.
Mayor Go, I've received 3 speaker cards regarding hearing consent calendar public hearing item 8A, 8B, and 8C.
Okay, so we're going to assume that we're going to pull all of those. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar hearing? At this time, consent calendar public hearing items 8D is now closed. Vice Mayor?
I move staff's recommendation.
Thank you. And you have a motion? Please cast your vote.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
So we'll move those to the end of the next section, Madam Attorney, or should I move on?
Actually, Mayor, the next item is hearing, so we can just take item 8A first.
go ahead
The
and do
hearing's
that,
open,
yeah.
and I'm assuming staff has a
Yes.
presentation.
So for this next portion, each side will be allowed 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes for all speakers per side. It's important that you identify yourself, make your statements succinctly so others may speak. We'll hear statements from those opposed to staff's recommendation first. If there's testimony on both sides, each side will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal. There's a clock on the TV screens behind me which indicates 15 minutes. Please step to the microphone and identify yourself. After 14 minutes, a yellow light will come on. At the end of 15 minutes, a red light will flash, indicating your time is up. Quickly end your statement. You may ask questions during your statement, but they won't be addressed until the public hearing is closed. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, please give them to the clerk. She'll provide copies to the council. Please be courteous to others who wish to speak. Madam Clerk, please read the public hearing item.
Public hearing to consider general plan amendment zone change number 21-0302 on 11.22 acres located at 9700 and 9850 Camino Media Drive. Applicant is McIntosh and Associates, representing Ron Takashi, the property owner.
Mr. Clegg.
Mayor and Council, we do have a presentation prepared for item 8C. However, for items 8A and B, we'll just ask our Development Services Director to provide a brief verbal report on the item. So we'll do that for item 8A right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Go, Council. The first item, item 8A, provides for the development of 120 units, a condominium type of project.
on 11 plus acres. It's an appropriate density. The general plan and zoning would provide for the development of that project. Both the Planning Commission and staff remain in support of the application and would request that the council take positive action on same.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Identify yourself. Seeing none? Oh, that is. Come on up.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
My name is Anthony Martinez, and I am a local carpenter. I live here, and I prefer to work in the same town that I live in. We are here tonight discussing zone changes, and those changes add value. When the City Council approves a zone change request, you add monetary value to a project. But the question is, what value does a zone change bring to our community? The developers make a profit, to be sure, but residential carpenters are some of the lowest paid in our industry. To make matters worse, we contend with traveling workers underbidding our local carpenters. We ask that your board would add local hire requirements to zone change, general plan amendments within the city of Bakersfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Mr. Torres. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members and staff. My name is George Torres, and I'm a member of the Southwest Carpenters, and I live here and work here. Carpenters put the journey in the term journeyman, but project language can help curb those travel impacts. For instance, the massive Amazon facility in the Northwest had no local hire requirements and used a drywall contractor from the state of Georgia. This contractor brought their entire workforce from Georgia, flying them home every single weekend. We've seen what business does without requirements. Let's talk about a way to solve that problem. Local hire requirements can mitigate transportation and greenhouse gas impacts by minimizing vehicle and, in some cases, airplane miles traveled. We ask that your board would add local hire requirements to zone change, general plan amendments within the city of Bakersfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Nance.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Ryan Nance, and I'm a member of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I live in Bakersfield, and I've been a homeowner for 26 years. My family and I live here, we work here, we recreate here, all in the vicinity of these projects. The American Lung Association's State of the Air 2016 report found Bakersfield's air to be the worst in the United States. Local hire requirements help mitigate construction-related transportation and greenhouse gas impacts by minimizing vehicle miles traveled. Our city has lots of requirements in order to build here. We want to see the city of Bakersfield have an enforceable 50% local hire commitment from developers going forward. We ask that the council would direct staff to make a list of potential pros and cons of adding local hire requirements to zone change general plan amendments within the city of Bakersfield. We also ask that the council postpone approval, although we're not saying that we're opposed to the project. We're asking that the council postpone that approval on the multifamily residential projects of consent item 8A, 8B, and 8C. I know we're talking about 8A specifically right now. But until such a time that the pros and cons of a local hire requirement have been reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nance. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to 8A? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in support of 8A? Welcome.
Welcome, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name's Tom D. I represent the owner. I'm here to say we're in support of the project. We hire local people all the time. We spoke to these folks last time. We said when their bidding operations come up, we're more than happy to bid our projects out to these Carpenters Union. We usually go with the low guy. I mean, we probably introduce over $100 million a year to the local economy in what we build in multifamily buildings alone. So we're just here to hopefully keep your support of this project and move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of 8A? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to rebut in opposition? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to rebut in support? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, return it to council for comment and action. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. This is not my ward, but I'm only a block away, and since Councilmember Freeman is not here, I will move to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank the Carpenters for coming out tonight, and I would like to make a referral to the City Manager's office to provide some analysis regarding a list of pros and cons for local hiring requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. In that same vein, as I think through these issues, I actually am reminded of, all the youth in our community. We're always talking about creating these pipelines when it comes to education, when it comes to workforce development, job training, career technical education. And a pipeline is only good and functional so long as there's a job at the end of that pipeline. And I think it's so important that we ensure that some of those projects, those investments that John and his friends are bringing to our community, that we make sure that, at least a portion of that workforce is coming from our community and our city. And so with that, just want to lend my support for Councilmember Gonzalez's referral tonight. And I look forward to having a conversation, not only about, getting caught up to speed on what sorts of protections do we already have in place, but what could we do more, pulling from best practices from other communities to actually strengthen those protections here at home. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. I don't see any other requests to speak. You have a motion. Please cast your votes. She didn't. Oh.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. As you know, that's my background. My husband's a background. So I will just kind of ditto on what my council members have said, that we do need to look into it. I don't know. I do have a question. Are these types of projects, are they typically union projects? If somebody could answer that for me.
So as a general statement, there's mixed, whether there's signatory or non-signatory contractors on every project in town. There are different environments where, like the taxpayer-funded projects, the signatory contractors tend to do better. In the residential, they tend to struggle. But
Right.
But one thing that we all agree on, whether you're talking union or not, is that carpenters from this area are looking for work, and we want to encourage. I know that's the thing that we hear all the time from, even you hear it from McCarthy as well. Vocational education has been struggling. The skilled and trained workforce has been retiring out faster than we're getting,
Yes.
New blood coming in. So, like that suggestion, that Councilmember Gonzalez and Councilmember Arias and you as well jumped in on, those sort of things would help that future workforce tremendously, just by guaranteeing that these folks are coming from here. We were shocked and appalled to hear at the Amazon facility that the drywallers were coming all the way from Georgia, and they were flying them in every week. We're having conversation with those guys, and they don't want to tell us how much they're getting paid. This is it's a gigantic site. It's Amazon. It's the wealthiest company in the world. And yet, in our area, in our county, they're robbing workers, So we want, our local folks to get a chance at that sort of work, and I think it starts with the things that come up on our agenda, every month.
Yeah.
So I think it starts here, and we'll go forward. Thank you.
Yes, well, I appreciate you all coming out and bringing attention to this for us. We are in the residential, so we don't hire union workers at our company because our customers wouldn't be able to afford for us to do so. But when it comes to the commercial sector, I know that's where, you can do well. But I just want to hand it to every one of you workers. For every 5 tradesmen that retire, we have 1 tradesman or woman that is coming into the trades, and we need builders. And a lot of young people don't understand that they can make as much money or more in the trades than especially if you get the education and you go into business for yourselves, you can make more money doing that than a lot of college graduates are doing. So we support the trades. Thank you for the work that you're doing at the school. I've been out there and toured it, and my husband, and he started out in the union in Norfolk, Virginia, and we've been in business since 1983 here in Kern County. So keep up the good work, guys. I would encourage you to what you're doing because it'll take you where you want to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Parlier.
Thanks, Mayor. I concur with that conversation too. That it's going to take place. Hold on one second.
We're just testing her request to speak. Councilmember Parlier.
Thank you, Mayor. So anyway, I'm in favor of that conversation too. And I just want to say it's been a few years, but I was out one of your functions, and you're definitely pros. You cleaned my clock on the song and hammer contest, and it was just great seeing you. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you, Councilmember Parlier. Madam Clerk, the next item, 8B. Oh, I'm sorry. You have, it doesn't, yeah. You have a motion? Please cast your votes if you haven't. Okay, so we're going to have to take a roll call vote. We have a technical issue. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Weir,
Yes.
Councilmember Arias,
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman is absent, Councilmember Gray,
Yes.
and Councilmember Parlier.
Aye.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. And the next one is 8B.
Item 8B, public hearing to consider general plan amendment zone change number 21-0322 on 24 acres located at 7100 South H Street. Applicant James Marino, representing Blyden LP, the property owner.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, we'll have a brief verbal introduction to this item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Go. Council members, item 8B is a general plan amendment zone change which would facilitate the development of a commercial project, namely a self-storage facility on approximately 13 acres on South 8th Street and a 66-unit multifamily residential community on approximately 11 acres. The Planning Commission and staff continue to support the project and would request your favorable decision.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to staff's recommendation? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of 8B? Welcome.
Good evening, council members. I'm Jim Moreno, and I'm representing the 2 applicants in this project. The project is a vacant infill project. It's going to be difficult to develop because you have a canal on 2 sides and a kind of a major street. I don't know if you call it a secondary highway, but Berkshire Road is proposed to be a pretty busy street. If it's developed, there's 10 acres of low medium density residential existing. The rest of the property is low density residential. The proposal is to move the low medium density residential from the east side to the west side, from the west side to the east side of the property. And then the rest of it would be commercial. The commercial would be developed as a Daryl's mini storage And the residential would be developed as duplexes, give a little alternative housing to the area. And the developer there would be the same developer that had been developing the properties to the east that are existing. Not the builder. The builder was Ballot, but Eagle Land Development was the one who developed the property to the east. If it's developed, they ran the numbers. Eagle Land looked at doing the R1 property and the R2. The R1 alone, they could put 99 lots on it, one of their studies. The R2, 10 acres at 10 units per acre is 100 units, but if you sit down and think about what could reasonably be put on the property, it'd be about 2/3 of the general plan density as it exists tonight. That would result in a reduction in air quality impacts, and the traffic generation would also be about 2/3 of what the existing could reasonably be used as. So we'd like to ask that you support your staff and your planning commission and approve the project tonight. I'll be able to answer questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of 8B? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and return it to council for comment and action. If anybody, yours is still not working. Right, Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. Really quick, no issues with this project, but Jim, I just want to extend a hand. Would love to get caught up on this. Councilmember Parlier so politely let me know that this will actually in the future be in Ward 1. So I'm looking forward to getting caught up to speed on this project. Awesome.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Parlier.
Thank you, Mayor. We met ahead of time and talked about this project. I think the developer is going to do a good job. And as far as the residential piece, I think they're going to make it consistent, even though it's multifamily, consistent with the R1 residential that's nearby. So I make a motion to move this item.
Thank you. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. And now 8C.
Public hearing to consider general plan amendment zone change number 21-0326 on 4.33 acres located at 3300 Rio Miranda Drive. Notice of exemption is on file. Applicant and property owner, Vision Housing Ventures.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have a brief PowerPoint presentation on this item by Chris Boyle.
Thank you. Item 8C is also a public hearing to consider a general plan amendment and zone change. The subject property is located near the intersection of Buck Owens and Rio Miranda Drive. It's currently being used as an extended stay hotel. In the past, it was a typical hotel with overnight accommodations. The applicant requests a change in land use designation from the highway commercial to the high-density multifamily residential general plan land use designation in conjunction with a request from the M1 light manufacturing zoning district to the R4 high-density multifamily residential zone. The site itself is remaining largely unchanged, but because of the change in dynamics of operations on the site, this project will require that a site plan review be completed pending the approval of the City Council. But no meaningful alteration to the site in terms of its physical development will occur. What will occur is the conversion of the former hotel into up to 207 residential units. That said, staff would recommend the adoption of a resolution approving the general plan amendment from HC to HR and introduction of the ordinance rezoning the property from M1 to the R4 zone district. that completes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in support? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Chris Mlk with Quad Knopf, representing the applicant and owner of this property. I just wanted to say that I think staff did a really good job in processing this request. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the project to your council, and we support their recommendation, and I'm here for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mlk. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, return it to council for comment and action. Councilmember Weir, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, at this point in time, in that particular situation, almost any type of improvement would be a welcome change for that area. And with that in mind, I move to approve item C.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Deferred business item 11A, council determination of language for charter amendments for the November 2022 general election and council position nomination concerning submission of argument for or against the measure.
Thank you. Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to wait for clerk to pull up the presentation for tonight, please. Thanks, Julie. So tonight we have, again, the proposed charter amendments in the ballot language. I will indicate to you that it is my intention to get straight to the point tonight, since we did talk about this in February. We also talked about it twice in the month of March and at your last meeting. So tonight, I'm just going to briefly review those charter sections again, which are under consideration for amendment. Obviously, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions of staff. And then I would like you to strongly consider voting tonight on the ballot label language and vote on whether the City Council should submit an argument. Just as an update, I think I mentioned to you last time that we would bring this back to you next month in May. It's my understanding, however, that you may not have a full council in May. You may not have one even at the end of May. And remember, we need to call for the consolidation of the election in June. And so at the request of the Vice Mayor, I'm doing this this evening. All of this information, by the way, is attached to your administrative report, which I think does a great job in summarizing this PowerPoint. It has the actual proposed options. The first one is in front of you. As you can see, it's very simple. Shall the Bakersfield City Charter be amended to remove all requirements that the fire chief and police chief be appointed from within their respective departments? Again, that language is attached to your administrative report. There is also a red line version of the charter, which will go into the voter pamphlet if this is the one that you ultimately decide to go with. And also attached to your admin is the clean version of those red line changes. You can see with option 1 that it makes very simple strikeout and language changes when we're talking about the fire department under section 194.12. It makes, again, very simple language changes to section 229, which talks about the appointment of the chief of police. Really, where we kind of get bogged down a little bit, you remember, is section 230, which I think we all agree was not eloquently written by our forefathers. But if you stick with the first option, it's that second paragraph there that talks about no member of the police department shall be eligible for promotion to any position other than that of chief of police until he shall have had 3 years of experience as a regularly paid peace officer 1 year of which must have been served in the Bakersfield Police Department immediately preceding the date of his promotion. If you go with option 1, that language stays in there. And again, I think we've thoroughly exhausted the point that that particular sentence has absolutely nothing to do with the chief of police. It has to do with the eligibility requirements of internal candidates. So option 1, that troublesome sentence stays. If you go with option 2, you can see that gets a little bit more verbose, but there are advantages to it. It sticks with shall the Bakersfield City Charter be amended to, again, same as option 1, but it adds that and allow all police officers to be eligible for promotion to positions other than chief of police or police chief without requiring prior experience in the Bakersfield Police Department. That's really the only way, as we discussed at the last meeting, that we can put these together in order to make it clear to the public. Again, the red line version is attached to your admin, and if you decide to go with this ballot language, this would be within the voter pamphlet. And you can see again that the primary change between number 1 and number 2 is that first sentence of the second paragraph. Should you go with option 2, that would be stricken, that would be lined out. We talked about that last time. We talked about some of the advantages to that. I think the vice mayor brought up that it would give staff a little bit, not a little bit, it would give staff more flexibility. Again, kind of take some of the stuff out of the charter that perhaps doesn't need to be there. It's covered under job descriptions, it's covered in the code, it's covered in the civil service rules, whatever that may be. If you don't want to deal with it this time around in 2022, you know, of course, that you've put together, or I think the city manager is putting together the commission that's going to deal with other charter changes. So again, if you don't want to deal with it this time and you want to deal with it in 2024, so be it. But that is basically the difference between number 1 and option number 2. So tonight, as I said, we're going to get right to the point. We are looking for a motion authorizing the proposed ballot label language number 1 to the November 2022 election, or a motion authorizing proposed ballot label number 2 to proceed to the November 2022 general election. We're also asking you to make a motion tonight relative to the arguments. Again, there's 2 options there for you to consider. Remember that the City Council has a priority with arguments, whether it's an argument in favor or an argument against. If you decide to do either one, you have, again, priority. Our suggestion to you is to move forward on this tonight one way or the other. Why? Because it will send a message to the rest of the community as to what you intend to do, and will give others then an opportunity to either draft that argument in favor or draft that argument against. And they're going to need to start, they need to start working on it. When the clerk gives you the resolution in June to consolidate the election, and we will add whichever option you choose to do on the ballot label, as well as the argument, that will have the time frame in it by which someone or some group that wants to do the argument in favor or the argument against, that they will have a timeline in which to do that. But again, we just felt that this sent the message to the community as to what your preference was. So at this time, I'm going to open it for questions. Mayor, if you don't mind, I believe I have both the Chief of Police here, and then I also have Christy Tenter here tonight, because I think several of you had some questions last time regarding the practical implications of either keeping or eliminating that language in 230. And if you want me to go back to it, I can. But otherwise, I have the recommended, again, I have the action slides ready for your consideration.
Thank you. I don't see any requests to speak. Are you having problems? There we go. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've deliberated on this substantially, and I think we came to pretty good understanding at the last meeting, or at least I felt we did. And I think the first option 1 is simple, it's clear, it's concise. Should be no confusion about that one. The alternative, option 2, more wording, and it just doesn't read very well. It's confusing. And as far as whether council members should be able to support this or disagree with it, I would prefer that we don't, but that could be a second motion. So I move that we support option number 1 and the council discuss whether we're going to have a letter in favor of this item, or if we're just going to let it go to the voters naturally. And thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. Also in support of option 1, I think it's clear and concise, really simple to understand. Ginny, I have a question, and maybe this is a question for Christian as well to answer. The reason why we're doing this is because of the stipulated judgment. And now I'm wondering, I know that we already have contract language worked out with the DOJ monitor, but would they be willing to type up an independent, objective pro argument and maybe one against it for council to look into? Just a thought.
Mayor, Councilmember Arias, I can certainly ask, but I would tell you that I doubt that the Department of Justice would want to take an advocacy role either one way or the other on it. And I think that if the council chooses not to enter the fray, I think there will be other organized entities that would like to submit an argument. And it's actually up to the discretion of the city clerk if there's more than one an organized bona fide organization as to which one to pick. So again, I think I heard you say, would the DOJ craft an argument for the council? But there's also the possibility that the DOJ could craft their own argument and potentially be considered, an organized group. And I wouldn't want to offer an opinion on that one way or the other. I think if the council wants to craft an argument, craft the argument. I think that's the best way to put it. It's yours. You should take ownership of it one way or the other.
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. And for my own part, I will go as far as recommending that I think DOJ is probably just far enough removed from the local context here that I wouldn't recommend inviting them to write our statement.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Parlier.
I'm in support of 1 also, and I think we should stay neutral. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other requests to speak? Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. I also think that option 1 is the most simple. I do think that we should take ownership, to quote the city attorney, I guess in a different form, but I think that we should let the public know why we're putting it on there, since we are the ones putting it on there. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, may I respond to Councilmember Smith? Keep in mind that the city attorney also has to write an impartial analysis, and I think that perhaps may address the concern that you indicated. And in that impartial analysis, I will definitely point out that one of the reasons we're advancing this at this point is because we have a contractual obligation, and I think it will also answer Councilmember Gonzalez's question of last time with regard to the issue of that second paragraph and standing promotions, et cetera. So I think I have about 250 or 300 words in which to do that. So the argument really would be an advocacy one way or the other, a strong position as to why you're doing, that you want it done, not really why you're doing it, but why it's critical for the city of Bakersfield.
Yeah, I get that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Gray.
So I would agree. I think option 1 is the simplest, and we do need to stay neutral. We are here to support our officers in this city, and I think being neutral as a council is going to be the best way we can go.
Thank you, Councilmember Gray. Any other requests to speak? Seeing none, you have it's not. Staff, just so you know, tonight the request to speak has been going in and out. Sometimes I see the name and then it disappears. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So what I've heard from the council is the majority of us do not want to make a support for this issue, So I move my motion, I'll adjust that to where we approve item 1 without any sort of supporting comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Is that
Vice Mayor, perhaps since I sense some objection to that, maybe we could split the motions, if you wouldn't mind, and just take the motion authorizing ballot label number 1 to
Okay.
proceed and get a vote there, and then go with the second motion, if that would be okay.
that works?
Thank you. Are there any other requests to speak? So we'll take the first motion. You have a motion? Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you.
Julie, there you go. Can you clear the screen so I can show the council there you go, thanks. And then this would be, Vice Mayor, either one of those motions. My guess would be the second one.
Yes, I will move the second on the second part of that page, the or part.
Thank you. Are there any requests to speak? Seeing none, you have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Smith voting no and Councilmember Freeman absent.
Thank you. And now next item, please.
Council and Mayor statements.
Thank you. Colleagues, any requests to speak? Councilmember Parlier.
Thank you, Mayor. Talked to a constituent today on Custer Street, and Public Works is in the process of doing some sidewalks there. And an item that Christian and I have talked about going back a year or so, and staff are working hard on it now. But what the constituent had to say is she was so happy with Public Works staff. The people, the crews out working in her front yard, extremely polite, extremely helpful. If she needed anything, they were there for, answered any of her questions, and I just want to pass that on to you, Greg. And then the last one is not so happy. Over the weekend, a child in Ward 7 drowned. And with the warmer temperatures coming on, that unfortunately is potentially going to happen. And talking to the fire department, it's I guess it's already happened more than this occasion. So I'm going to ask staff through the fire department potentially, through Joe, if we can do some sort of public service announcement that, hey, warm weather's coming and let's just be cautious. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parlier. Anyone else? You might raise your hand. We're having some issues. I'm not seeing any requests. Is it Councilmember Arias? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a little unusual to ask, but with your permission and grace, I would love to actually recognize Pastor Isaiah Crompton, and then also Pastor Jordan, who I know had every intention of being here during public comment, but had to come late. And so they actually had some issues that they wanted to bring up, and with your grace, would love to recognize them and have them, give them an opportunity, maybe 2 minutes, to share with the council some ideas.
Sure. Pastor Jordan.
Thank you so very kindly, Honorable Mayor and council members. At my age, sometime I forget time. Okay, so charge it to my head and not my heart. I know you're aware that, and you've seen it on the news, Mlk Boulevard. I want to thank you for putting the school out there, the MLK school. Great choice. Changing the street name to MLK. Great choice. Thank you. But I don't understand how we can build a multi-million-dollar school, change the name of a street, and can't put a crosswalk with a light for kids to pass. Don't make sense. In other communities, when they build a school, there's a crosswalk and a light. Maybe you haven't seen it. 3 days on the news, parents dragging kids across the street to their apartment, dragging kids, cars sliding. Speed limits say 40, 45. Cars go 65 and 70. It's okay though, because guess what? We're going to put a crosswalk there next summer. How many kids have to die? How many parents have to die? In 9 months, roughly, we purchased the property for a homeless shelter, rebuilt it, and established it. And it's going to take 2 years to put a crosswalk? I don't understand it. Is it because we don't have the funds? Or is it because no one cares? Is that a question? Don't answer. Let's see if we can get it done without waiting a whole year or until 5 or 6 kids get killed. Again, I want to say thank you for all the great work you've done, but we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Pastor.
Mr. Crompton? Council member, do you want to make a comment while he's coming?
To the mayor, Ward 1, Aries, all the rest of the council. I brought with me today my garden facilitator. We were working hard on the Mlk Garden, trying to get it up and going.
Mr. Crompton, can you get the mic closer, please?
We've had some support, and we're looking for more help to get it finished. We have a no-weed, no-till garden that we're starting, a edible fruit garden, vegetable garden that we're proud of. And I wanted to have the garden facilitator to maybe have a few words about what he's done so far and where we could use a little help. But thanks again for acknowledging us. I'm sorry for being late and appreciate all the help we've gotten so far.
Good evening, Council. My name is Richard Terrell, Mayor. Yes, excuse us for our tardiness. So we've amassed just under $3,000 worth of donations, and we were able to procure a small carport shed that we've turned into a nursery behind one of our constituents' house here. And we've sprouted about 3,000 plants there. And in the short time that I've been in charge of this garden, curating it, planning it, putting it together, with the end game being producing food to give to the community, and it also being a resource for education to train future farmers. Alongside of that, we're taking a piece of property that was crime-ridden. There was displaced individuals living there, and we're turning it in to a place that's people can be proud of. Kids can come and see if they want to be farmers. Teaching the newest technologies of no-till, regenerating soils, urban farming. We know that the lines at there's been lines at the food when people are getting food and they don't know what to do when there's no food. There's a disconnect between all of yours folks and me. A lot of people stopped farming. You have your big farmers, and there's no connect in between them and people who want to learn how to grow their own food sources at their houses. And so we want to provide an area for that. And coupling Mr. Crompton's influence in the community in Ward 1 and the food that he does give out there, this will fit right alongside of it. I've done what I can do with $3,000, and that's not much. We're working with the landfill, and they've sifted us. I need 150 yards of compost to complete the job. They've got 40 of it ready for us, but we don't have a truck and trailer to move it. So these are some of the things that we're up against, and we're getting local volunteers to do that. I can have a budget as to what the completed cost would be. We're in the process of filling out grant applications for educational purposes, as well as through the USDA for grants for high tunnels, greenhouses, and things like that. Your support at the garden could mean a lot. I think it's a facility that once it's completed, can be easily remodeled or easily placed in any a vacated lot throughout the city, and we can implement this style of food distribution and education through farming anywhere. It's scalable. It can even be done on the asphalt in the middle of a high school or something like that. It doesn't require any additional land or anything. So if you're interested in knowing more, I have more information. And
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Arias?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and Pastor Crompton and then also Pastor Jordan. It's an honor to get to learn from you guys for all the great work that you guys have done over the decades, and to serve alongside you and serving our Southeast community. So thank you guys for everything that you've done. With regard to the garden, would love to engage and maybe take a tour so that we could check it out. I know that Councilmember Gonzalez, staff, and myself, we were able to actually take a tour earlier, and we were pretty shocked with how far you guys have come along. We saw, I think it was some machinery, and then some of the tilling that you guys have already done, and some of the planting. So we're really excited to see what that's going to be here in the future. It's unfortunate, though. I will say that I'm sad because within the next couple months, it's going to shift over to Councilmember Gonzalez's ward. So when the harvest is ripe, he'll be right there, but I will be there beside you every step of the way as well. Pastor Jordan, thank you for bringing up that issue. I did see it on the news. I believe staff is aware of the challenges there at the crosswalk right there next to the Camellia Apartments. So if we could just take a harder look at that and maybe bring something back. I'm not sure if it's in the county or the city there. I know that there's some significant jurisdictional challenges, but want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. And then circling back before I forget about it, on the dispatcher issue, wanted to make sure that that we made a referral tonight per the joint powers agreement with the county, that staff do some research and bring back the numbers on what the current pay and benefit is for our city dispatchers, and make sure that we're actually in parity with what the county's providing. With that, appreciate everyone's indulgence, and looking forward to getting some rest here soon.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo the comments of Councilmember Arias and thanking the last speakers. The garden will be in Ward 2 soon, beginning in May 6th, and so I'm looking forward to being out there and seeing how we can better support the efforts and follow the good work of Councilmember Arias. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. Any other requests to speak? Councilmember Parlier.
Thanks, Eric. I was remiss on that one. I was circling back to it, but you beat me to it. Safe Neighborhoods, along with what the chief had to say tonight, but Safe Neighborhoods Committee did a tour of the PD dispatch and the fire joint dispatch with city employees and county employees up by BC. and it was an extremely interesting tour. And one of the main problems is keeping staff. So up at the command center by BC, when you walk into the dispatch room, everybody's wearing polo shirts. They're exactly the same. You can't tell one person from the other, but one could be a county employee, one can be a city employee, but there's vast disparity between the county dispatchers and the city dispatcher. In fact, we were up there again on last Friday, and there was a supervisor running the floor that used to be a city supervisor, is now a county supervisor because she left for the extra money. And when we were there on our tour, literally just days before, they lost a member to, I believe it was Target. And it takes months to train these folks. And they even said with millennials now that are used to doing everything on their phone, they have to, learn county maps, and it's just not Bakersfield, or, they cover the whole county there. And there's some other disparities within the police department. Normally it'd go through, the normal staffing process, but I think it's important for the whole council to hear this too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parlier. Anyone else? We have a representative from Assemblyman Rudy Salas's office. Thank you so much, Ms. Fermin, for being here. And just to remind my colleagues that the Great American Cleanup is April 30th. We hope you will all come out and join. I know your appointees are working really hard on that effort. So thank you. And seeing no other requests to speak, we're adjourned at 6:42.